Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and welcome back for, well, it's been a 4-month hiatus. We were just talking just before we press record. Can't believe that 4 months have gone so quickly, but it's an absolute pleasure to welcome back to the podcast the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner CRM, plus host of the super successful, global dominating podcast called Sales Pop Podcast. And we're going to talk about some research. Mr. John Golden, welcome back.
Thanks, Darren. You're too kind.
Well, we were just talking
Flattery
about
will get you everywhere, by the way. Just to let you know.
Yeah, but if you actually talk it up, right? It's it'll manifest.
Absolutely.
It'll
Absolutely.
manifest. Hey, it's great to have you back on. It has been 4 months, and we've stayed connected. And you reached out a little while ago to invite me to participate in some research that you were doing, headlined or sponsored by both Pipeliner CRM and also Sales Pop, around AI and sales. So you've just released the the research paper on the AI sales revolution, and I know you went live a couple of days ago to talk about the outcomes, but we're going to deep dive into that today. But I'm going to make an assumption, John, and that is it's a dangerous assumption that not everybody listening to this episode may have listened to the one we did 4 months ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There will be a couple of what we call podcast fans, or podcast, what do they call them? Groupies that listen to every single one of them. But just for the people that are perhaps listening to you or hearing about you for the first time, you're the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner. Just a little bit about your background, and specifically, I'd love to, just as a precursor, get some background as to what prompted you to start this research.
Yeah, so I have, I originally from Ireland, arrived in the States in the mid to late 90s to Silicon Valley. So started in Silicon Valley. Then I've worked for a number of different companies in different capacities. I have run sales and marketing organizations, run product organizations. I ran a startup where I was sales and marketing. That's even better when you're running a whole department, but it's actually just you. It's always an interesting one. And then I was fortunate enough to take over the CEO of Huthwaite, which was spin selling, the Neil Rackham only proper scientific research ever done into sales, and the spin book and all that. And I ran that for the parent company. And that was really so fascinating, because that was really like opened my eyes to the whole sales world, because we went to big organizations large and small across the globe to help them improve their sales performance. And what the most interesting thing, Darren, was that even when I was first there, and I would go with the sales rep to some big company, and they're going to train us, a couple of thousand people, and I'm looking at what we're about to present, and I'm going, seems a little bit kind of rudimentary, I was like, oh. And so we go present to the executive. And what I learned there is that unfortunately, most salespeople never get a proper level of training. They don't get because when we went in that day, I remember going in, we presented to the executives, and they're going, oh yeah, no, we don't do that. Oh wow, I never thought of that. That's great. And I'm sitting there going, oh, really? So the stuff that I thought was rudimentary, they're looking at as, yes, that's where we need to go.
Right.
And so that really fascinated me. And I was ran Huthwaite for I think 5 or 6 years, and then helped Informa. We sold some of those businesses to a private equity group. And then I went out on my own just to do management consulting around sales, marketing, and business development in general. And one of my first customers was Nicholas, the CEO, founder of Pipeliner CRM. And after working with him for a while, he just said, hey, come on board, be my partner. Let's launch this, because I had written a book, and in the book I basically said that, that when the worst thing salespeople can hear is we're getting a new CRM, I thought, and so he said, I'm going to prove you wrong on that one. And he did, because I found the first CRM that could actually really embed sales methodology and process in it very easily, and you could reinforce, you could make it mandatory if you wanted. So that's why I came on board. And and then we've always been a little bit of a we've always been kind of on the leading edge. We're always trying to push the boundaries to the next area. And when this wave of AI, when that came about, we were like, wow, the implications of this are fantastic, right? What you could do, particularly when it comes to software, right? Because
Yeah.
what's the biggest issue with software is we learn 10% of it if we're on a good day, right? On our favorite application, we learn about 10% of it, right?
Yeah.
On the applications we're forced to use, we probably learn about 1% of it.
Yeah.
And here is AI coming in, and agentic AI, and natural language processing, and now you start to think this is the breakthrough where you can interact in natural language with a software, and you don't have to learn how it works. It could do
Mm.
behind the scenes whatever it does, and now you can unlock the power of it. And that's what we've been doing with our product. We've got a lot of native AI in it, and that's what we're building it around, kind of a native AI as we continue to evolve it. So I'm a big believer in what AI can do. However, there's always there's always a flip side to things. And as I looked out, I really felt that in the B2B sales space, there was a lot of stuff being talked about around AI, but there was nobody was actually saying, nobody had any really data to back it any of it up.
Mm.
And so I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity. I have this huge network with the sales pop contributors around the world, because I've done over 1,600 interviews, so we've got a big database of people. So folks like yourself. So I did a subset of the people who were practitioners, who either went and like trained people and helped people implement sales initiatives, or they were still bag carrying or running their own companies. So
Yeah.
practitioners, not theorists. And I put together the research and sent it out, and it got a great response. And the insights have been fantastic, because some of them are counterintuitive, which is a beautiful thing when you do a research paper and it surprises you.
Mm. And you had a and yes, you said you went to practitioners, sales leaders,
Yeah.
people that are carrying the bag, but also probably technical people within those organizations that probably use this sort of stuff
Oh yeah, yeah,
every single
absolutely.
day. So you've got a
Mhm.
really good wide breadth of, I guess,
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
to give you some great insight. So it's not a, and it was never a let's have a predetermined outcome
No.
to work to a narrative you were actually genuinely curious about.
Yeah, absolutely genuine curiously, completely. There was no agenda under it to say, okay, I can create it this way to get this. No, I mean it was literally, I was fascinated because I wanted to. It's always good to gut check yourself. I mean, I know what I think is happening. I know I have in my gut. I know where things I think are going,
Yeah.
but it's always good to get a gut check, and this really was very helpful in that, in helping to kind of either solidify or challenge some of my assumptions.
So at a high level, because I'd like to go into some of the, I guess, the details and maybe some of the specific percentages around certain elements. But you mentioned before that there was a couple of things that may have been counterintuitive. So at a high level, what were some of those, I guess, things that might have surprised you?
I think the biggest one was that the 88% number, that 88% of the respondents said that executive relations must remain human, right? And that, I mean, I expected it to be high. I didn't expect it to be that. It's almost unanimous. Come
Yeah.
on, it's with sales professionals at 88%. That's unanimous, because you're never going to get full agreement.
No,
What
no,
do you think?
true.
But that I guess that surprised me that it was higher than I thought it was going to be. But I think it shows that people are starting to think in terms of, okay, what is AI good at, and what are humans good at? What are the parts that they're not, that they're not even broken, that they're working effectively, that I don't
Mhm.
need to interfere AI into? Where's the parts that I really need to wrap AI into to support this? But this piece here, the relationship piece in B2B selling, is still critical, and that has to remain human.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, there was a comment that was made. around business to business. So we're doing
Yeah.
business to business, and there was a question that was asked: what if we get the buyers that are using AI to interact with the sellers that are
Yeah,
using
yeah.
AI? Do you now have an AI to AI interaction?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that's coming. Yeah, I mean, the agents are getting, the agents are getting more and more capable all the time. So, I mean, I could see that. I mean, a lot of these things will probably start off in transactional and B2C, where where the human is kind of maybe is not that crucial to the
Yeah.
interaction, and maybe the agents can do it better.
Mm.
And but when it comes to, I think, consultative selling. Yeah, AI can help you enormously and can really elevate you, but that the trust and the relationship building stuff, the creative, the thing about people overlook sometimes about salespeople is part of their job is the being creative with solutions, like coming up
Yeah.
with solutions, like drawing on things, the kind of thing that AI right now can't do.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because in the earlier implementations of AI, and certainly when I say that a couple of years ago, there was a lot of organizations that were very reluctant to use AI because
Yeah.
they knew that at some point in their buying cycle, they would have to sit in front of a customer and maybe talk through a solution or talk through some sort of proposal. And if they gave everything into the AI and let the AI
Mm.
create it, it wouldn't have been their work. So they would have been found out very quickly. Um, Another piece of the research indicated here that just under 50% had gone past the experimentation phase. So no longer
Yeah.
were they necessarily dabbling in it, they're actually deploying it as part of their ecosystem.
Yeah, yeah. And as they like to say, in what's it, American football, it's running plays, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, and it's a good analogy. It's like, so they've taken, maybe when the football team, like the Las Vegas Raiders or whoever it is, yeah, they'll try a load of like potential plays out in training, and then eventually they'll go, okay, these are the ones we're going to use. And I think that's what's happening is that the smart companies, the forward-looking people they've started to figure out how it can be used, and they have well-developed use cases that they're using AI for. So they're running plays. So this is
yeah.
not, they're no longer piloting. They're saying, here's a use case. It seems to have proven itself. We'll go with this, and then adding others. Uh, the others, I think there's a lot of people still stuck in pilot mode. And yeah, I think, if there's a danger of staying too long in pilot mode or piloting too many things. I would really encourage people, like, find a very simple use case or a couple of simple use cases within your sales organization and implement AI for those use cases, and then just start, and start treating it like a regular part of your workflow. So I think the thing is that people need to get out of piloting, uh, soon, and start getting into, as they say, running plays. And I think there was a 10% number or something who haven't even got off the start line, which I was like,
Well,
maybe they're in a particular sales area where it's maybe not as applicable, but I think there's very few of them.
you've got to wonder about, what happens not using AI at all, 10%. Yeah, unless
It
they're an
is.
industry that doesn't use technology.
But there's also another thing, Darren, and I've come across this a couple of times now, and this is a worrying thing. This is nothing to do with sales. This is really just to do with AI in business. But it's people who don't want to believe, or they're almost like that. Who's the guy stopping the sea coming in, right? um, they're almost thinking they don't want to believe what it's going to do or what it can do now. So they're trying to keep their businesses as it is, right? And what's going to happen now, and this has already started, is that, if you're a vendor and you pitch a service to me, right? First thing I'm going to ask you now is, how do you use AI? Tell me, because if you go, oh no, we do it, I'm saying, forget it, I'm not working with you, because I'm not going to, I'm not going to contract you to do 10 days work if AI can do it in a day, and you
Yes.
haven't showed me what value you add on top of that. Then, and that's going to be a real problem for businesses who don't adopt it.
And I wonder if that that whole narrative has changed, John, from even maybe say 12 months, 2 years ago, where if people were asked, "Are you using AI?" it was almost like you're kind of cheating, right? And
Yeah,
we
yeah,
we,
yeah.
we don't want to deal with people who are using AI because it's not their work. But now that's it's
It's
literally
it,
taking over every corner of our lives. You you,
it's
you don't have a
reached such
choice.
it's reached such productivity levels, to be honest, Darren, that some of the work that it's producing is better than the work that the human now, as you said, I mean, it's not like it's you just don't type in one prompt and say off you go, do everything. No, you have to learn how to work with it, and
Yes.
iteratively and everything and that. But yeah, I mean, there are, like I said, I've come across businesses who are just who will go out of business. There's I can say that 100% certainty
Yeah.
if they don't start using this and then start articulating what's the value I bring on top of this. And it's the same for salespeople. It's like if
Yeah.
you have all these AI tools, what do you add to the equation?
Mm. Well, just on that point, one of the interesting stats that I saw come out of it was saying that 76% of the respondents were saying
Yeah.
that emotional intelligence will be the number one skill for the AI era. And I looked at that, I'm thinking, hallelujah, because I talk to sales leaders and sales teams all the time about just that thing. You've got to be more and more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, and that I guess that surprised me on one level. It surprised me that more people had focused in and figured that piece out, right? Because I think that is a really key statistic, and I think it's a key element to take away is that um, if AI and the technology can do all of these things, right, then you want to free up the salesperson to be able to do the high value activities, and that's like build a relationship,
Mm,
be creative, all of those things, and that's what people want in most B2B buying. You want to deal with humans, right?
yeah, yeah,
Especially if it's big ticket items or whatever, consultative selling, you're to deal with people. So but people's antenna are up more and more about, does this person really know what they're talking about? Are they, and stuff like that. So their antennas are up and they're looking, what value are you bringing to me? Like, why am I even talking to you? And
mm,
so the emotional intelligence part is so critical now because even over Zoom or whatever, like we need to understand how to read the cues,
yeah.
how to connect better with you, how to build trust. Those are things that AI is not good at right now. So I'm not saying I don't know, could take over. And next time we do, you could maybe there'd be a robot sitting in this chair. I don't know, but right now, yeah, I think business acumen, emotional intelligence, and great relationship building, good questioning skills. If you focus on them, you're going to be good.
I love that, and it's very much in line with the conversation I had with somebody the other day, and we're talking about AI, and
Mhm.
and she was saying, in her perspective, it's the human intelligence that will differentiate, which plugs
Yeah,
beautifully into emotional intelligence. So
yeah,
being able to have a good human-to-human conversation. Now, what's interesting, John, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is how many companies out there are trying to go further into the realm of self-service, directing customers to talk with bots, maybe agentic AI to talk with
hmm
some, and there might be some elements of a sales cycle that might make that relevant. But what we're saying, and this is certainly through your research, is at the strategic level,
yeah,
people still want to maintain a relationship because at the
yeah,
end of the day, we're still doing business with people, and we
yeah.
can't, and we probably don't want to remove that at this stage.
No, I don't think we do because I think there's another part in B2B sales, that relationship part. Because let's be honest, if I sell you a software platform, right, and it costs a significant amount of money or whatever, um, and you're the main decision maker or you're the one who was tasked with making the decision in your company, right? You have a lot riding on this now. Your name's attached to it, right?
Mm,
I don't think you're going to be comfortable if you have nobody, not a human to interact with, to go back and to say, hey, help me to feel supported.
mm,
Because there's always a part, after a sale, when somebody buys something, they're super excited about it, and yeah, roll it out to the company, and then there's an issue, right? And then they go,
mm,
oh, panic, and there's a bit of a motivation, and that's when they need support. That's when you
yeah.
really need to wrap your arms around them and say, it's okay, we'll get through this,
Mm,
everything's going to be fine. If you take that piece out, I think that's a big mistake.
100%, 100%. And there will be organizations that do that,
Yeah,
and they're going to find that 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 will be a negative differentiator, and
Yeah.
they'll be forced to bring it back. And we've actually seen it over time, and this is before AI really took over. I mean, it's probably even around COVID. Just before COVID, there was a lot of offshore
Yeah.
contact centers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
major organizations. COVID hit, everyone was shut down, and then post COVID, a lot of organizations brought that back in house
Yeah.
onshore. And customers are asking, so are you based in my location? Are you based in
Yeah.
this country, or are you
Yeah.
in some foreign land?
Yeah.
Um, so I
I
think
just
it's
think that whatever you're going to do with I think you have to be very careful, and you got to, like you should with anything, you got to put yourself in the customer's shoes, and then ask yourself honestly, and ask your customers. That's the other thing, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But and ask yourself, uh, is this better? Is this, as a customer, this is, or a prospect, does this make it easier or better? Am I getting the information I want, and am I getting exactly what? Is it frictionless? If you can
mm,
say that, then yeah, use the AI. If you say it is frictionless up to this point, well, then you say, well, that's where the human has to come in. But you have to add, because we don't want to go down the road of, I mean, whoever invented, the phone and the phone trees and all of that, that person, if I ever meet them, there'll be trouble. Right? But you remember that when that when the telephony technology came out, where you could have everybody has their own phone and their own voicemail boxes, and then you had lovely menus, and they were implemented without any thought for the poor customers, because now they're calling up, you press one, press five, press this, no, tell me that again, tell me what you mean, no, you can't talk to somebody, no, you have to tell me what you want, now I'll reroute you to this, sorry, hang up. uh, and that's what I'm saying. We have to be careful that we don't replicate that again, and we look at it from what makes sense for the customer or prospect, what makes it easier for them implement those. But if it works better for you
yeah.
and not for them, then you're falling into the same trap again.
Well, there's two parts to that, and I do want to talk about the customer side,
Mm,
which is a really important part. But the
mm,
first the first thing I wanted to talk about was the adoption. So organizations that are the not the 10% that are not doing
yeah.
anything, but the ones that
Hmm.
are embracing it and running the plays.
Hmm.
What was also quite interesting is that the adoption of the AI technology was not necessarily being driven from the C-suite down. There was an element of that, but it was
Yeah.
also being driven by the individuals on the
Yeah.
floor who are trying to look at ways to be more effective, more productive, differentiating themselves against their competition.
Yeah, because I think there's a couple of motivations at work here. I think at the executive level, I mean, everybody's bombarded with AI, and so any executive in any company is looking at it, or has been looking at it over the last while, and going, "Oh, you mean I could do more with less? I could all this." So that's got them excited. A lot of them may not really understand it or whatever.
Mm,
All they're hearing is it can do all these things. It can probably save us a bunch of money, make us more efficient. So they are putting that pressure. They're going and saying, asking their department, "Are you using? What's our AI strategy?" And that.
yeah.
The other interesting part that you said was the individual reps who are just going out and they're just adopting tools or whatever. And this is, I don't know if you remember when smartphones first came out, and we had the same issue because people started bringing their smartphones into work, bring your own device,
Mm,
and started like getting their email out and everything. And then suddenly IT was like, oh, hang on a second, that's completely not secure. And so they had to figure out some protocols around that. And I think it's the same situation here. I think it's great. Your salespeople should show initiative and all that. But if you have people who are just adopting tools, you don't know. First of all, you don't know what they're using them for, but you also don't know, are they using them properly? Are they giving away like proprietary information and not keeping it secure? Or are they,
mm,
you know, are they putting in are they putting in what you call those like add-ins and their Chrome, extensions into their browser from these things that actually, I mean, there was a thing the other day about all these fake browser extensions, that go in and they just take all your data or whatever, or build a backdoor into you. So there's a real downside. So I would absolutely encourage, and I would compliment the salespeople who are doing that. If they're in your business, I would say fantastic, you're ahead of the
yeah.
curve, right? Now let's get together and figure out which are the ones we're going to standardize on, and how we're going to make sure it's used properly, and how we're going to make sure that we're not leaving ourselves vulnerable, from a technology point of view, or from, being hacked or whatever. So I think that's really important. But yeah, um, Darren, you've been a salesperson for a long time. You know that if you see something that's going to help you, you're going to grab it. You're not going to wait for your Lord and Master to let you know.
Correct, correct. And
Yeah,
and with all that though, it's what you said was really important, that you've got to put some guardrails in. You've got to make
yeah,
sure that
you have to.
there's a protocol that it doesn't put your information or the company's information, and specifically
Yeah,
customers' information in
yeah.
jeopardy. So there
Yeah,
has to be.
which is with GDPR in Europe and other things, data security things like that, that could be a real. You could get yourself into a world of hurt.
Oh, totally. 100%. The other part of that was the customer side, and the what are customers experiencing, and what's the customer verdict. And what's interesting, there's a lot of companies out there that talk about the fact that, you know what, we're very, very customer centric. In fact, everything we do, we put the customer at the center of all of our
Hmm.
actions. But in actuality, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
I call that the bumper sticker. Yes, bumper sticker. Everybody has it on their bumper on their website. We're customer centric, and
yes.
and then you call them and you discover you discover the reality.
So what was interesting here is the research said that, and you've got at the top line here, this is the data that should keep sales leaders up at night. And it says
Yeah.
39% of sales organizations have not measured how their customers perceive AI assisted interactions. They're implementing AI without knowing if it's helping or hurting their relationships.
Yeah, and that is, I think that that's mind blowing in a way, because you if you just think about it, right, is you're implementing these things, and you could be implementing a lot of them. It could be dramatically changing the buyer or the customer experience, but yet you're not. As I said, you're not going to the customer first and maybe saying, everybody's got customers they can talk to, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
got their best customers, ones who are happy to give them feedback, and that. And so I would say, yeah, before you implement it, and just be upfront and transparent, saying, we're bringing in these AI tools or AI capabilities because it's going to help us do X, and here is the benefit to you.
yeah,
Now let me know, does this how is the experience for you? And people, customers mostly be very happy to give you feedback in that. But I think if you're not even having that conversation, if you're trying to, and I would avoid this, if you're trying to, as some people do, implement AI but not sort of tell anybody, not like tell, you're doing it behind the scenes, you don't really want them to know. They're going to figure it out very quickly, so that's a waste of time to begin with. And I just think that it behoves you to tell people when it's AI and when it's not, right? And when it's
yeah.
human and when it's AI. Because quite frankly, if the AI is better and it's giving me what I need, then I don't care, right?
That's right. But if you
But
then, yeah.
but if you force me into an AI and it's not doing what I need, and you didn't tell me you were forcing me into an AI, then I'm upset.
Well, and that's the key point, because if you are open, upfront, transparent, so we are using AI, and then you combine that with the
Yeah,
fact that customers still want that human to human
yeah,
interaction, then the customer potentially gets the best of both worlds. So you can use AI to
yeah,
be more productive,
yeah.
which means you've got more time to be more qualitative in terms of the
Mhm.
relationships you're building with your customers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for this wave of AI and sales, I think that's really the key to it, is uh, getting rid of all the busy work, getting rid of all the repetitive or rote work, getting all that automated, letting AI take care of that. Let AI take care of things that you're not very good at, I mean,
Yeah,
writing emails, let AI be your scheduler, do all those things. And and then use that time that you're getting back to build even bigger and better relationships, and really and be more strategic. And maybe that way, I would say that a lot of times, like, salespeople can't maybe expand their book of business in a particular account because they just don't have the time and the focus, and because they've got all this other stuff going on. Think about if you freed up that time that they could actually, each of them could do, like real account-based marketing plans per company, and they could really do and personalize at scale and really
Mm.
be. I mean, that for me is that's the fantastic part.
Oh, absolutely. And if you keep the, I guess, the overarching tagline of 88% still want to maintain that
Yeah,
human-to-human relationship, then I think the responsibility then sits with the senior sales leaders to look at their sales force and all the
yeah,
tasks that they make them responsible for, such as, and you're in the CRM space, keeping CRM up to date, so the point where it becomes almost like a compliance inspection type of stuff. If there's stuff that you can outsource to AI and you still give it guardrails, that does release you to now be more strategic in terms of your account plan, your marketing plan,
yeah,
to expanding your book of business, then it's more relevant. And the
yeah.
the feedback and the payback to the company is going to be huge.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why I'm confident if you're that kind of salesperson, like be consultative salesperson, and that's what you're good at and you like doing and you've worked on that and you've trained on that and everything, you're going to do great. You're going to be
Mm.
great. This is going to be fantastic for you. Where it's going to impact, and I think this is not just sales, but this is any job, any role that is extremely task based, right? Those are the roles that are going to go away quickly because AI can execute tasks faster, better, and 24/7 than you can. So I think that's also you got to look at your own work and say, like, is my work task based, or what value am I
Yeah.
creating on top of that? And if you're not, then I would suggest people to start looking at, okay, how can I use AI for these tasks? And then what can I do to create value on top of it as the director, maybe coordinator of all these
Mm.
AI things that's going to have a better outcome, right, than it did before. But if you're just sitting there and you're just executing tasks, you're going to get replaced.
It's really interesting you say that. I was literally this morning Melbourne time listening to a podcast from a guy who's written a lot of he's been doing a lot of research on AI, probably going back 50 years,
Hmm.
and went right through the Industrial Revolution. And part of the
Right.
conversation they were talking about in the days before computers, they used to have in companies typing pools. And
Yeah.
so a company secretary would, or a CEO or some sort of executive would write a memo or dictate a memo. The secretary would take it shorthand, take that shorthand to a typing pool. A typist would have to type it up, and that became the memorandum. And then it would have to be delivered physically, either to a person in the business or by post. And then they would have to do the same in terms of responding. And they said nobody even questions. And sometimes you talk to people today and they say, "What's a typewriter?"
I know,
What's a
and
typewriter?
the reason I'm laughing at this, Darren, to be honest, is because I use this example a lot. This is the first job I had back in Dublin. That is exactly. We had one person in the office who had a computer, right? Well, I think first of all they had a typewriter before they even got the computer. They had a
Yeah,
typewriter, and she sat up at the top, and the rest of us. And then if you had to send out a letter, you had to like write it in longhand, right? Write it out on your thing and then bring it up, put it in the inbox, and maybe 2 days or 3 days later, it just depends how many other letters were in the thing. It would arrive back on your desk with your original handwritten and now the typed one, and you sign it and you put in the envelope and you go on. Now, those jobs are gone, right? They were
yeah,
gone pretty quickly. Uh, but once upon a time, typing skills were if you were good, you could do have a nice career and you could do very well
yes,
and have really interesting work and that and that went away and then the computer so yeah I think you have to have one eye on the future because the future is coming so quickly.
mm,
Let's face it. I mean, my head is still a bit spinning because some of the things I can do with the AI tools today is just mind blowing. My productivity has gone shot up.
yeah.
And I would like
Um,
to think I was relatively productive beforehand too. So now I'm thinking, it's making me look like I was a slouch.
well, it might mean you've now got some more time to do some more qualitative stuff, such
Yeah,
as,
exactly.
relationships with family, playing golf, whatever the case
Hmm.
might be. Um, the other thing about all that as well is there'll be people that, and let's just put the glass half full, glass
Yeah.
half empty hat on, that'll be thinking, oh my God, my job's under jeopardy. And you'd rightly said, if your job is very much task based, then there's
Hmm.
a high probability that at some stage in the not too distant future that will either be minimized or replaced by AI, right? So you've
Yeah.
got to continue to add value. But there's a lot of narrative out there that we keep hearing about people won't necessarily be replaced by AI, but they will be replaced by people who know how to leverage
Yeah.
AI more effectively.
Yeah, and I think that's 100% truism. To be honest, I don't know who first said that, but it's I see it everywhere. I even put it in the research too. I'm not claiming it, but I think that's a fact. I think that if you get very comfortable with AI tools, if you learn how to use them, if you use them to make yourself more efficient, is to create more value in your role, make more value for your customer or your prospect if you're a salesperson. Yeah, I think you'll do great. But if you just sit there and go, well, I'll have Chat GPT and check it out. Oh, look at the picture I created. If that's what you're using it for, then maybe not. So yeah, you need to get out of it, get out of your mind right now that it's a toy,
Mm,
and start looking at how do I leverage these things, because that is going to be your that's going to be your defense against losing your role, is whether you can operate with the tools and you can be the
yes.
person above the tools coordinating and then creating the extra value. And that's the way to think about it. Think about yourself. You need to be the conductor and the AI needs to be the orchestra.
Well, just on that, I was just looking at the some of the tasks that are listed to remain human, which is where the 88% building
Yeah.
executive relationships comes from. Down the bottom of the chart, it talks about negotiating contract terms. And something that has always intrigued me since AI has really taken off is the role of the internal lawyer or the legal team within an organization, because it is to some degree very task focused,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
is also an interpretation element to it as well.
Hmm.
So, is there anything that surprised you in relation to that? Because I can see a day where perhaps we don't need an internal lawyer. We just put it into ChatGPT, we give it the framework in terms of what are the key principles, and let it create the necessary contractual documentation that fits both the narratives of both organizations.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is absolutely going to be, I think that's going to be an area. And I think again, it's going to come back to those legal folks who, as you said, who are creative and can look at nuance and this and that, who add value on top of it. Because if it just comes down to interpreting contracts, stuff like that, or terms and conditions and stuff, yeah, AI is going to be able to do that better and faster. And those days, I mean, I wouldn't like to be. I mean, every industry's going to struggle with this, but if you think about it from attorneys, right? You're
Mm,
not going to pay them. You're not going to pay somebody $500 for to look at a document for 10 minutes and give you some feedback. I mean, you're just not going to do that anymore.
no, no, absolutely. So, as long as you can trust the AI.
As long as you can trust the AI. Now, I mean, and maybe as we said, it'll be a hybrid. Maybe you'll do all of this, and then you'll have a final like review by an attorney, but rather than having them put everything together. I think that's yeah, and I think the board attorneys are in for a bit of a shock because now we're all going to be very well informed, and those days of I'll give you a good example. Somebody I know had to do their blood work recently, right? Did their blood work, going to the doctor to get the results. So the doctor sent the results first, and he said, "Come on in, make an appointment, and we'll go through it." So meanwhile, my friend took his results and ran it through AI and asked AI about it and went and it gave it all this feedback and everything. And so he goes into the doctor. So the doctor starts talking and he goes, "Oh, just hang on a second. Take a look at this." He said, "I asked AI to do this." And the doctor was like, and the doctor was blown away. He was saying, "Wow, that's very comprehensive. That's like more than I would have covered."
Well, just to take that as an example,
Yeah.
that for some could be quite frightening because if you listen to Elon Musk talking about his robots and
Oh, yeah.
particularly with surgery, he predicts a time in the not too distant future where surgeons will be replaced by robots because of their precision and accuracy and yeah, it's frightening.
Yeah. So far, I've just seen the ones when I was in Korea earlier this year, and the ones that make you coffee, like
Yeah,
robots,
okay.
like you order the coffee and they make put everything together with their robotic arms. That
Well,
works fine. I'm not sure I'd want to. I'm not sure I'd be ready yet for a robot.
Well, I was going to ask you because you're in California. Is that where they've
Mm.
got the way the driverless cars, taxis,
Oh, the Wemos, is it?
the Waymos?
Is that what they're called? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they work. When you see them for the first time, because we don't. I don't think we have them in San Diego at the moment, but they certainly have them in LA and San Francisco and all of that. When you see them for the first time, I'll tell you, it's hilarious because you're just driving along, and especially if there's no one in them, right?
Yeah.
It's just going somewhere, and you're just going. There's a
What's
car
going
just gone
on?
past with nobody driving. And then the second funny thing is when it comes past and somebody is either in the passenger seat or sitting in the back and there's no driver and they're just sitting there, you just think it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But yeah, it's caught on. I mean, it's going really well. I could see that. I think that's going to be a massive. Uber's going to take a massive hit on that, and drivers, taxi drivers, and stuff. Because at the end of the day, again, it comes down to efficiency and convenience and and people once they get used to there not being a driver, I think it probably makes them feel more comfortable.
Well, it's also a safety element as well
Yeah.
because the other thing this podcast was talking about this morning is in Australia, for example, there's about 1,000 road deaths per year
Right.
across the country, and the vast majority of those are due to human error.
Yeah.
And yes, the technology probably has to continue to develop, and there's a lot of probably probity regulatory stuff that have to get through for countries to
Hmm.
embrace it. But if you've got technology that is that good, that drives under the speed limit, they don't get tired, they don't drink alcohol, the number of road deaths should reduce over time.
Yeah. And then they just iron out the wrinkles. Like there was a thing in online the other day about somebody who their driverless taxi turned up and they discovered there was somebody hiding in the trunk.
It had taken a hostage.
Yeah, nobody jumped in to get a free ride. So I don't know. Well, there's a lot of crazy people about.
My
So, but
goodness. My
But yeah, so I
goodness.
mean, I think that's that's where we're going. So I think you have to uh, continually look at what changes are coming and how can I stay ahead of them? How can I stay relevant and how can I stay valuable? Like I said, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people who want to operate at an elevated level, who want to do,
Yeah.
regardless whether it's sales or whatever. Um, if you're kind of person who's just happy doing tasks and stuff, you that's you're probably not going to have as many opportunities as you used to.
No, no, and you'll be potentially not. Well, you will be left behind. So you want to
Yeah,
be able to
yeah.
embrace it.
And I'm not even going to get into discussing. I mean, I don't know where this goes ultimately. When it talks about people, if people have to have universal basic incomes and stuff because there's no job. I mean, I don't know where it goes. I think right now, what we're talking about in sales, I think it's fantastic and it's improving things. In the long term future, I don't know how this pans out. Particularly when it removes those kind of task based or those jobs that a lot of people rely on, and they've always been
Yeah,
able to, people who are doing jobs because they need money to do something. Maybe not so much, they're not doing it for careers or whatever. They're
yeah.
doing it because they need. Yeah, that is going to be something that we'll have to watch carefully, and we'll have to come up with elegant solutions for because we can't just allow a whole raft of people just have no options.
No, no. And if you look at the Industrial Revolution, where most
Yeah,
people before that were working on farms, they then
yeah,
started to work in factories. They then created the working week because before the Industrial Revolution, pretty
yeah.
much was a 7 day a week. So the 5 day a week is a human-made thing. So who's
Hmm.
to say you can't do a 2 day a week? There's probably a whole host of options, but
Yeah.
lots of things to consider. Coming back to the selling stuff and from
Yes.
a prediction and looking at the future, I was interested to look at part six of this and what's coming next, including a prediction that changes or potentially changes the entire game. And it's we've kind of talked about this, but 71% of respondents saw that AI is a co-pilot, not a
Hmm.
replacement.
Yeah.
So the theme that we've got in this conversation is you've got to look at differentiation. The human element's still going to be really important. Emotional intelligence is going to be more important. So hire people for the empathy with empathy, hire
Yeah.
good people, and let
Mhm.
let the bots and let the AI do all the stuff that they've been done in the past.
And the great thing about AI tools and that is that you can teach people really fast. And there's no, I mean, that's my thing is that there's a very low learning curve for using these tools, right? Unlike traditional software. So if you hire for empathy and emotional intelligence and business acumen and all those things, you can teach them the
Mm.
tools that they'll use, and you can teach them whatever product or service. Absolutely. And I think and I think that too many times, we recruit people for their tech, maybe for their product knowledge or their tech skills, or maybe they've sold in that industry before. I think the AI is going to allow us to, I think it's going to allow salespeople to move across industries easier than in the past, I think.
You know what, John? I've actually been saying this for a while, and a lot of people disagree with me, and they're probably people that come from very technical, very
Mm.
specialized niches. I always say that if I can take a person of good character who is teachable, who is coachable,
Yeah.
who knows how to have a conversation and knows a process to build a relationship and do that, I can teach them the skill set. I can teach them the nuances of the product or the service, but it's very hard to teach attitude.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and you can't. I mean, you can't really teach emotional intelligence either. It's something that people have to develop themselves, and
Mm,
self-awareness. You can't teach people self-awareness.
yeah.
Can't teach. There's a lot of things you can't. And the other thing, you can't teach people hard work either.
No, that's true.
No, I've always said those would be mine. I say you can teach people to do most things, but you cannot teach hard work. It's either in
No,
you or it isn't.
that's it. That's
Either
it.
you grew
That's
up
it.
with it or you didn't.
So interesting. In the last page of the report, it talks about the research. It talks about the bottom line. And AI won't replace salespeople, but salespeople who use AI will replace those who don't. So, um, hey, this is a fascinating
Mhm.
piece of research. I guess my final question before we wrap up is, um, when are we going to do this again? And is it on the horizon to do it in the midterm, long term, or short term, just to
Yeah,
see to keep
yeah.
track of things?
I'm going to try and turn this into an index. So yeah, I'm going to run it probably twice a year. I'll certainly run it again, mid-year or in the second part of the year sometime, because it'll be interesting to see. And what
Mm,
I may do is I may actually literally almost run the exact same one to have it to see if things have shifted, and even in
yeah,
6 months.
yeah, love that, love that. So, John, hey, it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming back on and talking about the research. A couple of things. One is for people who want to know more about you and the work that you're doing with your global dominating podcast, Sales Pop, and also Pipeline of CRM. Plus, can they get access to this? Can they download this for
Yes, yes,
themselves?
they
Where can they
can.
do
They can
that?
download it themselves. I'll give Darren the link so you'll see it. You can put it under the video or whenever you
Yep,
send it out. So the link to the research, yep, you
yep.
can download it for free. And then I'll also give you a link where you can download an implementation guide if you're how to actually roll out AI in your organization, in your sales organization. So just a
Perfect.
nice companion piece for that as well.
Awesome.
And hope,
I'll
yeah. Well, it's been a real pleasure, Darren. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to have a beer in Melbourne someday.
mate, I like that, but I do recall you and Guinness. No?
Yeah, I did a bit. Yeah, like when I go home, I drink it a bit. But no, it's not. It's never been. I wasn't one of those people. I had friends. I had friends back home who could put away 12 pints of Guinness in a night, and I was,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
I must say, when I drink Guinness, my father-in-law and I, we always drink Guinness when we've got family events, and the limit's about 2 cans.
Mm.
But I never ever get a headache. I never get
Yeah,
bloated.
yeah. No,
It's such a beautiful. It's God's nectar.
yeah, it is. And I'll just finish on there was an American who walked into a pub in Dublin and he said, I'll give $1,000 to anybody who can drink 10 pints of Guinness one after the other. And and the guy at the bar goes, hang on. And he leaves the bar, right? And he's gone about like 10 or 15 minutes. And then he comes back in, he goes, all right, he goes, line them up. And the guy goes, where'd you go? And he goes, I went to the pub down the road to see if I could do it.
Bring it on. So he's going to get 20 done. So
Yeah.
$2,000. Thank you very much. John, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll put all those details on the show notes. Also, your LinkedIn profile so people can connect with you and learn more about you, as
Perfect.
well as the Sales Pop podcast link and your website as well. So, mate, absolute
Perfect.
pleasure. Thank you so much for being a
Yeah,
guest
no, thank you.
and good work on the research.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.